Welcome to this episode of the Blerd Talk Podcast. Today we're going to talk about nerd stereotypes that don't exist. Kenny, we're going to dive right into it. Why are you looking so confused?
No, I was like, why you call my name out like that?
Because I'm picking on you first. You was saying before we started, like maybe a couple of days ago, that you was excited about this one. I'm assuming you have some good stereotypes that you know for a fact do not exist, because we're like grouped and we're seen as like weirdos who, or at least back in the day, weirdos who live in our mom's basement and like do unforeseen things in the privacy of our own homes or something. That's how people act. I've seen it. I've read it. Kenny, what are your thoughts?
All right. So,
take your time.
You know, these glasses, dog. You gotta clean these bitches. All right. So, there's a lot of things. I gotta pull up my notes again. Give me a second.
Oh shit! He did pull up the Alex notes.
Yeah, he feels like he needs to shine when Alex
live up.
Yeah, live up to the quality.
So, there's a lot of like misconceptions about nerds per se that are formally not true. Hollywood portrays a fuck ton of them.
I agree.
The thing about nerd the thing that they put up on nerds, like, you know, especially in Hollywood, and I don't think they do it anymore. I'm not sure. I don't really watch that many movies anymore. But they always put in like, you know, nerds are super smart, but have like no common sense. We have, depending on what kind of nerd you are now, there are some people that are very, very super smart and have like no fucking common sense. Yeah, there are some people like that, but it's like you run into them very few, and they're so high up in I guess nerdism that
nerdology.
Yeah, nerdology that you normally just don't talk to them because they're usually socially awkward. Now there is some trivia about nerds that are true, like, you know, socially awkward. Yeah, there is a bunch of nerds that are socially fucking awkward, and it is really weird. But hey, I'm a considered a nerd, and I, like, you know, I talk to a lot of my homies at work that like, you know, aren't nerds and stuff like that, and we can have a full blown conversation just fine. Maybe it's because I've seen the world, I don't know. But that's one of them. The next one that, you know, a lot of people do is that they were hopeless, that like, especially Hollywood, that we're like hopelessly single, which is most of the time we're not hopelessly single.
We're too weird or something to carry a relationship.
Yeah, we're weird to carry a relationship.
Yeah,
which isn't a thing. I'm married. I'm a nerd. Dante's got a girlfriend. He's a nerd. My boy John, he a nerd. He be slanging it, you know.
So that's another thing I wanted to dive into. My main point of a stereotype is that people think. So when people find out that Avani was on the way, that her mom was pregnant, they was like, wait, Dante got a kid? And it was kind of like, Dante played games all day. Like, yo, just because I play games all day, that don't mean I don't be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, clapping cheeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And so that's just the weirdest thing. They just think I'm just like a hermit. And no, I don't want to say I was running the streets, but like I was outside.
I think like that's so that there's two stereotypes I want to like bring back up. Is one that nerds are smart. Not necessarily. A lot of people who are nerds, they're just like really knowledgeable about saying Naruto, but then like you have like feeling great. Like that happens all the time. Like being a nerd doesn't
mean
necessarily. Doesn't mean you're smart. It really doesn't mean anything aside from you're like a big fan of like XYZ thing.
Yeah.
And the other one is obviously like nerds don't fuck. Like actually, like especially from like not just my experience as like a nerd myself, but just like nerds I know.
Oh,
it's like
you be slanging it, bro.
They
Like,
do be slanging it.
We totally the
Like,
opposite of what people be thinking.
yeah, like nerds are horny little motherfuckers on average. Like, bro, like nerdy girls get
Bro.
so much pipe. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's literally just like I'm like I don't know. Like, I think like the thing is that like because nerds are typically not seen as attractive, but like I guess you could call them the masses or whatever, like the regular folk.
Mm-hmm.
But like nerd to nerd is like, bro. Like I remember like in high school, like the nerd group went through each other. Like literally, like from freshman year to like senior year, like they all fucked and dated by the time it was done. Like it was just yeah, like I don't know where that stereotype comes from. I think it's just like people just not knowing or just being like, oh, well, I'm not attracted to you.
It's
No one else
just,
will.
like I was going back to, it's what they see in Hollywood.
Or Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is like everybody thinks how nerds are. Like everybody thinks that nerds another stereotype. Everything they thinks nerds like everything that are like mainstream. Most of the time, nerds don't like mainstream shit. Like most of the time, like
mainstream anime or something.
yeah, Marvel movies,
Mainstream anything. Yeah, so
Marvel
many
movies,
nerds
anything
don't
like
like the
that.
Marvel movies. Yeah.
Listen, I watch it because I just want to see it in action. But am I a nerd? Am I freaking geeking out over it? Hell the fuck no, because I know they're gonna get it wrong. So I'm not.
See, that's the thing.
I'm not even stressing about it.
You gotta. I'm at the point where I understand like the movie adaptation of a comic book is not going. Everything's not going to translate 100% all the way through, and I understood that from the beginning. Like when they had like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, like the live actions, those three that everybody said the third one was horrible. I don't know. I don't care. I liked it. I was a kid. Whatever. Right. So everybody's expectations is like up here when it comes to an adaptation from a cartoon or from a comic book. One of the stereotypes that I'm not very fond of. So everybody I never categorized myself as a nerd, believe it or not, because where I grew up, I didn't categorize myself as anything. I'm just a black kid that likes video games, right? People put me in that box. They assumed that I know about computers just because I wear glasses. Because now, especially now, if I mention I have a gaming PC, they was like, "Oh, well, what can you tell me?" I can't tell you shit, bro. Like my partners, my friends did that for me. I paid them to make the PC for me.
I paid other nerds to build my PC.
Right. So even though yes, I am a nerd, I never considered myself one. Just I don't because it was more of a diss. It was more of a slight like shade back then. And I kind of like just disassociated myself from it. Now, I mean, it is what it is. Now it's popular. Now it's cool, which is bullshit in my opinion. It's dumb because like now it's like the hip thing.
To be honest, it was inevitable, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little bit artificial. Here's sort of like the thing. If you think about it from a capitalistic perspective, it's so much better if everyone is a nerd because then you can sell merchandise like so much more easily, right? Like movies and those sorts of franchises, like they're as big as they've ever been. They're as profitable as they've ever been. And you could kind of argue it's like, yeah, there was kind of just like a financial advantage to just like making nerddom cool for just like all these industries, you know, like games. I mean, like, so just the fact that like girls play more video games now has essentially doubled the value of that industry, right? And then like, yeah, I mean, like movies, it speaks for itself, right? Like, there's like what 10 Marvel movies a year,
well,
like now.
Exaggerating, it's like 3, but I mean, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Low.
But they cranking.
No, 3
so
sounds low.
As far as movies in themselves, it's like 3 or 4. As far as overall product, yeah, I would say 10.
Yeah, probably over 10. Yeah, it's over 10.
Like they got TV shows and you know what I'm saying, whatever.
Okay.
But that's what I was saying about like Hollywood. You know, it's there's a lot of stereotypes about like nerds and stuff. And another thing is that one of the one stereotypes I laugh at all the time is when everybody's just like, yeah, all nerds are overweight. I'm like, I be looking at people like, bitch, America overweight. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, the other countries are overweight. Like, yeah. So it's like nerds. I feel like
the nerds are the most in shape people nowadays.
A lot of times, yeah.
And so it's just like, bro, like, what the hell? Like, I go to the gym every day. I see people wearing anime shirts all day, and these people are yeah. I know.
Right.
I see people wearing anime shirts, and I be like, these people used to be cut. Like, I'm wearing my Baki shirt right now, Nike with Baki and stuff like that. It is like
what a great combo.
That's another thing, you know, like mainstream Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, Bleach, Naruto. I don't fucking know what else.
And what's crazy, I never watched Bleach, One Piece, or Naruto.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You watch the Pied Piper, which is Dragon Ball Z. So it's like everybody knows about Dragon Ball Z. Everybody, like, ever since Michael B. Jordan came out that he was a nerd, everybody's like, oh my god, nerds are cool.
He said, oh my god, no.
It's not really it. I feel like that was not the start.
It was the start of it.
Oh, okay.
I think another thing is that people feel like nerds can't fight. Boy,
I will throw down hands with anybody I see, bro.
Kitty,
it don't matter.
Kitty,
and the thing is,
we about that.
And the thing is that most nerds, they get themselves in. Most nerds, not all. Most nerds get themselves into a martial arts field because of anime. We are not the ones to be fucked with. We get into swords, martial arts, and all sorts of shit.
No, it's this one dude when I was living in Chesterfield, right? It was this dude. He rode a bus. He was kind of off, but he used to ride around his bike, and he used to be picked on the school bus. I saw this man riding his bike with a sword on his back. I was like, yeah, he's not the one. He's not. And I don't think nobody else noticed that but me. Come to find out, I spoke to him, everything. I was like, hey, man, how you doing? I don't even know his name to this day. Years later, I walked into a GameStop. I saw him, but I didn't see him, right? So he was like, hey, I know you. I'm like, whoa, who the fuck is this? Like, no, you don't. He was like, yeah, I do. I remember you. We ran in it, I'm saying we talked up a little bit, and I realized that was the dude with the sword. Now, what if I used to pick on him?
You would have, bro.
You would have died. You would have got
when I was in middle school when I was on Fallen Creek. I don't remember. I was going to Fallen Creek. I was a new kid, whatnot, anime, all that stuff. There was a girl that she tried to pick on me. Tried. Main word try. Like I let it slide for like.
What you did to us, huh?
I let it slide for like 2 days. First day, she was just like poking my head and shit. And I was like, hey man, can you stop? Like, go away. Second day, she did it again. I was like, hey bro, can you stop? You go away. Like she was like the bigger girl. Like she was bigger than me. But the difference was that I was a man, so a boy. And so she was like, so the third day, she was like, yeah, this is the third day. Kept poking my head. And I looked at her, and she was like, what you gonna do? And the bus stopped. The bus stopped. I looked down.
He dropped it.
I scooped her up and slammed her on the ground, bro.
No, that's how it starts.
and then like everybody everybody on the bus was like, oh shit, oh. And then she got up. She was like, he just slammed me. And the bus driver was just like, you gotta go. Like, this is your stop.
That's great. I never. My brother was picked on, like in a similar situation with a chick or with a girl. I never had that experience. I had a similar experience with just another boy. You know what I'm saying? Like kept messing with me, and I was like, "Yo, chill." He was like, "What are you gonna do?" I was like,
yeah, exactly. Well,
and so I was like, "I'm gonna punch you right here," and I pointed to his nose, and he did it again, and I punched him in his shit.
And it stopped.
What they say? What the young people say? It's up and it's stuck, or some shit like that.
Yeah,
you talking about?
Like I said, I'm not back in the school. Like everybody was like, "Yeah, did you get bullied?" I was like, literally, my bullies weren't really long. I didn't get bullied for more than probably 2-3 days top. Cause it was just like I got bullied by a guy on the bus in like elementary school. It was like a little boy. I was like 4 years old and he was 5. Like not 4 years, 4 year in elementary school, and he was in 5th grade. And like he was picking on me first day. Like it only took me 1 day for him. Cause I think I was just having a bad day as a kid in general. I don't know. But like,
angry young black man.
So he stood up and he poked me. Like he stood up, poked me in my head, and I remember to this day it was Dragon Ball Z. I saw that shit where he was standing over my head. I just looked straight at him, stood up, and hit.
John, he tried to imitate Vegeta. He tried to imitate the Ginyu squad.
I remember he had blood coming out of his nose, and he hit the thing, and I just stood up, got my bag up, and then walked off the bus because it was my stop. So he was poking me. I just said, and he's just like, he was just, and I was just like, got my shit, and then I just walked off the bus. I got called in the office the next time, but
I always wonder why that was a thing. Like, do they just see? I don't know where they see weakness at, or why they think they see weakness.
It's because you're quiet. Most like the thing is that it's actually switched now. Back when the quiet kid was the one that got bullied, like it still is the thing. But it's like nowadays, kids. It's like kids. Are you sure you want to bully with these kids nowadays? Because it's like you might die. Like,
like real shit.
Like it's like now it's just like you might die. Like leaving the quiet kids is fine. Like I remember me and Alex was here. We had a kid. He was a quiet kid. He always talked about liking fire. Me and Alex did not fuck with that.
That's a red flag.
And then one day we were running the class. We were running the class, and he was like, Alex. He started talking to Alex. I was like, I do not want to talk to him. So we started running, and we went into our classroom. We closed the door. This man opened that bitch. Well, it was me and Alex holding that day. This man pushed that bitch open. And then Alex said that day, he was like, my theory has been correct. Crazy niggas are strong.
That's that. Never mind. I ain't gonna say. But yeah, so
it is. That is a fact. Being crazy. It's an adrenaline thing. It's like that mom that like lifted a car off her kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just an adrenaline release thing. It's like they're just more capable of doing it on command. It's fucking funny though.
But what Dante was saying about the tech savvy thing, yeah, that's not also a true thing. I don't know why in every HBO whatever movie you got the tech new. He's sitting in front of like 5 different monitors and like typing on some shit, and I'm like looking at this shit. I'm like, I just need 2. Like, what you doing? Are you watching the network or something? He's like, I'm hacking into and just hitting a whole bunch of shit. I'm hacking into their security right now. I'm like,
but why you need 5 monitors for that?
I'm just sitting here like
not to mention that's not what hacking looks like to begin. Like hacking is a remarkably boring affair.
That shit is boring as fuck.
Yeah, it's boring as hell.
They make that shit look so epic and moving. I'm like, bro, that shit is boring as shit. Looking at that shit and waiting for that shit is boring. It can take
a fucking video game.
A week, 2 weeks just to get to somebody's goddamn password, depending on how complicated the shit is.
Yep.
It's just like so that's one of them. And
I'm not tech savvy at all. Like,
and that's it. We're not all tech savvy.
And it was kind of annoying, like growing up, where people just assumed, like, yeah, I can type, but I mean, who can't? Like, you know what I'm saying? That was kind of like but everybody, it's like reading and writing. I thought typing is just right there in the middle of that, but I mean, apparently not. But so everybody assumed that I was tech savvy. Because I wear glasses. I thought that's absurd. I wear glasses because I can't see.
Yeah, exactly. I wear glasses because I'm blind, dog. Like, what you want from me? But it's a lot of things. Like, me being in IT, I get the brunt of it, most of it. Like, bro, I go to the gym, and when these people find out I'm in IT, they like, you're in IT. I'm like, listen, dog, I ain't. Even though it is mostly true, you either fat or skinny. There's like. And that's just a stereotype that just sticks with it, bro. And I'm just like, there's no way I can escape that shit. Like, everybody be like, you're in IT. I'm like, yeah, but they're like, yeah, but you're not fat or skinny. I'm just like, I know, bro, but that's just what it is. That's what IT is now. But it's like that's like now that's what the kind of nerd is now. It's like the technical nerds and stuff like that. But the thing is that there's different. But people don't understand there are different volumes and different types of nerds. You got the comic book nerds, you got the manga nerds, you got the anime nerds, you got the game nerds, you got the nigga sports can be nerds. Like
so
I was thinking of like jujitsu nerds. Like those motherfuckers are real and dangerous.
Yeah, so it's just like you got so many different nerds, but the thing is that it's not a nerd thing. It's just that they're just that's just their passion or they're interested
that's
in
their
it.
hobby.
Yeah, so it's just like it's not a nerd thing about it. Like for me, I like games. I'm a game person.
He said big.
Yeah, I had to do that, you know. But like me, I'm a game person. I like games. Most of my friends, they like anime and stuff. I can't watch the anime that comes out now. The shit is just too. They just try to put too cutesy on all this shit nowadays. I like the raw, dark, dirty anime. Like first 5 seconds, somebody dead, bro. That's so it's like so that's the stuff that. But that's all they put out now. So that's why they kind of like they just say it's different levels to the nerdness and stuff. And we're not all bunched together in one thing. We're not all out of shape. We're not all tech savvy. We're not all single. Most of the time, all nerds aren't usually single. They're usually with somebody else.
That's a good point, actually.
Huh?
No, that's a good point. It's like thinking back, it's like, yeah, like most nerds are in a relationship.
They're in relationships.
Vast majority of the time.
And you know, the funny thing is, the things that nerds usually dominate in is that the things that people don't really talk about. Nerds are actually really good fucking parents.
I try.
And the reason why it's a study. I forgot what the study was, but about it, I heard about it. But most gamers or nerds are usually good parents because they're still in touch with their I guess their kid side, their playful side. So it's a lot easier for them to get and interact with their kids and stuff. So, and for me, honestly, I'm happy to be a nerd because I be hearing some of my coworkers be talking about, and I'd be damn near about to die when they be talking about this stuff. Like when they said they're about to retire, I was like, oh snap, what are you about to retire? Oh, I'm just gonna watch my farm and work on the yard, work on my yard and stuff. And then I hear some like, yeah, man, I came out of retirement because I just got bored. I did with all that, did that, and I had to do something. I was like, nigga, I'm gonna be catching up on games I missed if I retired. Like, I'm gonna be backlogged like a motherfucker.
and another thing is like when going back to what Jock said about you said the nerd group, they mingle within each other. That's my first time hearing about that. I'm not surprised, but that's my first time hearing it. So,
bro,
because
are the most nastiest motherfuckers.
I mean, yeah, I heard, but it's just like my experience was different because
I heard.
But it's just like so my experience with I never mingled with other nerds necessarily. You know what I'm saying? But it was just the fact that because where I was growing up at was crazy because like the hood girls, they would look at me and they were like, "Oh, you're different. You're different." They didn't know what to label it as. It was like you're different. You're not these type of guys over here that's standing outside all day on a corner or whatever, doing whatever. You're different. You stay inside. You stay to yourself. I like you. I'm like, but why? You know what I'm saying? So that was more.
You know, dog.
Like I was like an anomaly or something. Like I wasn't a product of the environment, so that stood out. So, but I'm not surprised about the intermingling of the of that group, the nerd group.
So there are specific nerd groups I stay away from.
Yes.
The Super Smash Brother group, I stay far the fuck away from that group because they be doing some raunchy shit, and I'll be like, "Hey, I can't fuck with it." Like that's why I said there's different type of nerd. You got Super Smash, you got furries, bro. I don't fuck with them niggas.
But see, and so this is I'm new to this these sub groups. Like, so I'm used to just nerd. Like, you throw up the word nerd and anybody can fall under that umbrella. Yeah. And it is what it is, right? You fall where you fall under that. But now there's like subgroups.
Yeah, because there's always subgroups, bro. Like, it's just like subgroups of black people. Come on, bro.
Oh, light skin and
Like,
dark skin and red bone.
Yeah, red
Not
bone,
even that.
light
It's
skin,
never
niggas.
Yeah, like
So,
niggas and black people. Like
yeah, so it's just like everybody. I stay away from certain groups because I know that they just be doing a lot of. They do too much. To be honest, it's not right. A lot of times, Super Smash Brothers, that group, they were under a lot of fire 2-3 years ago because there was a whole bunch of like childish sex scandals and stuff, child sex scandals, like with children. So
In case anybody was confused, it was children.
Yeah, with children, dog. Children.
Sure.
So it's just like I don't fuck with that group. I have friends that play the game. I'll be like, listen, hey bro, I'll talk to you every now and then, but you need to get out that game, bro. Away from them niggas at least. But it's just like I said, you can't. Every stereotype don't bunch up together to every stereotype. Like I'm saying, some of the stereotypes are true. Some nerds are very tech savvy. Some nerds are very fat. Some nerds are blah 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 blah. But almost every stereotype is true in some way, shape, or form, no matter.
Yeah, in general.
Yeah, in general.
Like.
So it's just how it is. Like the one thing I can say that I can fucking say is true is that, and it's sad to say, but it's mostly just anime nerds. Is that manga, anime, nerd, game, some shit like actually doesn't matter. All fucking nerds, except for me and maybe us other motherfuckers. But these people that be so deep in their nerdness that they don't take a goddamn bath or put deodorant on, I be damn near wanting to choke the hell out of them.
So, is that a stereotype? Because I thought
that is.
Yes.
Okay, so hold on. Let me.
Huh?
No, I'm thinking. Go ahead.
Because that's one of the stereotypes that like is oddly real. Yeah, it's like, and I never quite understood that one. Like, why that one of all the other ones? It's just like, so you just binge watch your thing and just never shower. It's like, or like you play World of Warcraft so much that you can't even take a shit. You wear like an adult diaper or something.
Okay, so
it's like, huh?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like that one. Like that just to me seems like obsession, if not just straight up mental illness. You know what I mean? Like that is too much. That's too far. Like this thing supersedes your like biological needs. Like that's just, you know what I mean? Like something went wrong here.
Yeah, I think that as far as so that kind of and that's kind of goes in line with the nerd in the mom's basement thing that just sit there. Mm-hmm. It's like 300-400 pounds eating Cheetos, not even, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of lines up with that imagery. No, they just got Cheetos sitting on their chests and shit. Like they just and they just on a computer trolling people all day. Like
nastiest keyboards ever made.
Yeah. The other one is like it's not really talked about that much, but I think a good amount of nerds, mental issues. A good amount of them do have a large amount of them have mental issues. You can go to I go to anime conventions. I go to anime conventions, and almost every girl that I used to talk to when I was younger are fucked up. So is
that more because of they being sheltered, so they don't experience stuff, or what? Like what would you pin that on?
The problem is that they try to, and that's one of the main problems with anime in general. Is that people try to relate too much to it, and that causes mental issues. Like they try to look like these anime girls and all this other stuff that guys are like flocking to and all that stuff. And it's like they try to do that stuff and they just realize they can't reach that and fucks them up. So I guess that puts that back into that obsession that Jacques was saying, the obsession portion. But yeah, and the thing is that it's that's not the funny thing is that's not talked about. The mental issues with nerds and stuff like that, that's not talked about. But them not being, you know, them being socially awkward and something like that. I was like, yeah, that's probably because of that, those issues they're having.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's not talked about. Really, it just isn't. Like, I can guarantee every fucking person that watches is like an anime around guy or girl have some kind of mental issue. The first sign of it is fucking hair color change. That's
Really?
the first fucking sign of it.
That's interesting. So
Um,
I never associated, and so I'm all right. I never associated hair color change with a mental illness amongst the nerd community. So is that's what you're saying, or?
It's okay. So the reason why I did it is because I did my own study on it, and I think there is something on it about it or something. I don't know, but if your hair color is, you know, a unnatural color, the one thing I realize is that there's something fucking wrong with you. So, and the reason why that is because it's the rebellious attitude. So it's like you're rebelling against, like, Steve Harvey had he had a girl with blue hair, black girl with blue hair come to stage. She was like, yeah, I want to get in these jobs, but they're always looking at my hair, and they're like, I'm like, bitch, your hair blue. And Steve Harvey looked at him and was just like, they don't have to change nothing for you. Change your hair color back to the way it's supposed to be, and, you know, apply for the job. You're applying to them. They're not trying to get you. You trying to get in with them. So it's like, yeah, you're going to have to follow their rules. And the thing is, she was like, they should just follow. They should do what I wanted. I'm like, no, bitch, that's not how it works. So, and that's why I was like, and you talk to Steven Crowder's video, not Crowder, not that man. Mike Walks or something. His name. That what is a woman guy? I forgot.
Oh,
his name.
Yeah, Matt Walsh.
Yeah, Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
If you watch that video, he was talking to a woman with blue hair, with a psychiatrist who was off the fucking rails.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, what? So it's like when I see somebody with a red, blue, purple, if it's like
is the worst.
If they do have some, like, you know, blonde hair or something, they dyed hair blonde or brown or something, I'm like, you know, okay, that's okay, I guess. But when it's like that red, that bright ass red, green, something like, I'm like, you got a fucking problem. There's something wrong.
Yeah, let's deep dive into that. No, it's interesting, but also like the causal chain here, I would disagree with you on it. That it's not, the mental illness was there first. So what happens is, like, think about it this way. This is a population of, like, mentally very vulnerable people, right? So it's like a lot of them are girls who, it's like they have an issue. Maybe it's at home, maybe it's inside their head already, but there's an issue there somewhere. And then they discover anime and they discover, like, an escapism, right? Which is like everyone who has, like, even if you're going through a rough time, you're going to engage in escapism. It's like a natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if your life is kind of like not that great and you're like trapped in your head or something because of like some issue you have, then you can be obsessed with that escapism, right? And for people who it turns out to be nerd shit, then they become obsessed with like those characters and like the fandom. That's all they identify with. That's like their whole life, right? It's then anime. It's like everything they wear then is anime, like all their pins, and then they dye their hair. And then you end up with like this weird, like, I love how it's called main character syndrome, but for a lot of those cosplay girls, it ends up being main character syndrome. And like, I knew a lot of them like before they even got into cosplay or like, you know, became famous and all that shit. And they were always like, you know, desperate for attention and like to be like the center of attention at any cost. And so that would include like any kind of just like thing they can do to their appearance to just like stand out. You know, I remember like that porn star. I don't know if you were there for that conversation, but like that girl I went to the girl I went to high school with, who like turned out to be, who like is now a porn star. Like, yeah, like she had like a bright pink mohawk, like she shaved sides and everything. you know, in fucking high school, and it's kind of just like, yeah, like these. But like the mental illness is there first, and then they just have like the outlet by like, you know, changing their appearance and so on. And the reason, huh?
I'm saying the hair color change is a sign that these
That's the indicator, yeah.
That's what I was
It's
saying.
an indicator. And the reason why it's an indicator is because like, so like if you think about just logically, right? So like none of us have green hair, and none of us have even the desire for green hair. Like none of us have even thought about dyeing our hair green, except for maybe like a Joker costume at some point, right? And that's kind of the thing, is that like a sane person would see all the downsides of like dyeing their hair bright green, that it doesn't even cross their mind as a thought, right? You wouldn't even entertain it. But if you're someone who it's like you're living in like your own parallel delusion, then like, yeah, you're gonna dye your hair fucking green, and you're gonna be like, oh, this is my liberation, you know, like if you don't take me as I am, it's like, you didn't take you as you are, you dyed your hair green.
Rebellious, like I said.
You know what I mean? It's kind of just like, even you didn't like the way you fucking looked. But, you know, never mind that, right? And so it's kind of like that. It's just like you're dealing with someone who it's like they're not really thinking right. Like, so you know how I get with people sometimes. I like to just like talk to them for a long time and like dig into like what makes them tick.
Yeah.
Every time I've had a conversation with those types of girls, it's like it doesn't make sense. And the more you talk to them, the more like they contradict themselves, or just the less sense it makes in general, to the point where it's like you kind of can't keep up, and you realize that like they probably can't keep up with themselves, and it's why like everything is so disconnected in their heads, and like the way like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, their hair's dyed bright blue and they can't get a job, and they can't process that like it might be connected, and that, you know what I mean? Like it's just like it's a really strange. I feel really bad for people who are in that situation, because I'm kind of just like, I don't know what anyone can do about this. Like it's just like it's so dysfunctional. You know what I mean?
But yeah, it's like I'm saying, like just like I usually just, there's just different levels of stereotypes, different levels of nerdism, different level, and also to be a nerd is to dye your hair green, different colors, supposedly some shit like that. So I'm like, bitch, I don't even know what. Shoot, we gonna having tattoos. You're a nerd now.
So
huh?
I remember that little shift. That was fun.
So basically, to summarize, there's some stereotypes that's true, but there's some that isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I learned something about the hair dye. So, and that reminds me, when I was in Chicago, I remember walking behind this chick, and her hair was hot pink.
Red, bro. Oh, hot pink.
Hot pink.
It was like hot pink, red, and I'm just looking like, yo, she's bright. Like, I could probably see her from blocks down in daylight.
Yeah, and that's what she wants. That's
And it never crossed my mind. So now I'm looking back at that, and I'm like, she has a mental issue. So now I'm going to look. And I'm going to look at other people with that in the back of my mind. Like, I wonder if they are one of those group of people that we were talking about. But
most of the time they are. If they aren't, there's some people that just like to dye their hair different colors. I'm like, okay,
that's rare.
That's rare.
That's so rare. It's I don't even want to bother counting it. You know what I mean? That's so rare. It's so unlikely.
Yeah, so it's just like, but like I'm saying, it's like nerd stereotypes. They're all not true. They're not. They all aren't. But there are some that are true, and there are some that are just not.
It's so out there.
About. Yeah, they're just not talked about.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's sad to say, like most of those deep nerds and stuff like that, or nerdy people or something like that, they're usually, and it's fucking sad to say, but most of the time they're fucking pedophiles. And it's just like, what the hell? So and this is like
that too.
It's just like shit. So
yeah, the ones I don't agree with is we fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We clap
fight.
cheeks. We fight. We clap cheeks.
We clap
Like
cheeks.
it's like there's nothing else doesn't
We're
even
not
matter
all
to me no
smart.
more.
We're not all
Hey,
smart.
guess what? I'll
Tech
fight
savvy.
you, and then I'll clap your girl's cheeks. What's good?
Like, what's that?
What's happening? Car gave a
Right.
shit on pussy, bro.
But yeah, this will conclude this episode. We fight and we clap cheeks. Yeah. But yeah, so I think I like this one.
Yeah.
I was able because I've been frustrated about these stereotypes for quite a while, for like a couple of decades, and I'm happy to get it off my chest. It was mainly the cheeks and the fighting.
No, the cheeks
That
one,
bothered me.
I still find that one hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
bro, when I tell you that, like, the nerds I knew especially, fuck. I mean, even in